I've played tons of games and my experiences have ranged from "this changed my life" to "please end my life," and of course so many other emotions in between. Gaming is interesting because you never know what you're gonna get when you've pushed the power button, especially in the 80s and the 90s. In some ways, even now, we have to hope the game is everything we want, but sometimes that isn't the case. If you've watched my stream before, I'm very adamant about protecting my mental health and not wasting my time forcing myself to contend with games that have subpar mechanics. And one of the things I'll do if a game is just so horrible that I can't partition my brain with enough give a shit to complete it is to fuck it off. And usually I don't talk about these games unless it ends up on a games to avoid list, but our Epic member Merch Credit asked for it, and you know me, if you ask for something, you will get it, even if it's off the wall. That being said, let's begin. This game boggled me because the entirety of the time that I played it, I genuinely had no clue what my objective was. It's a top-down block game where we move blocks but destroy them, all the while having these random enemies walking around trying to kill us, and eventually we find a key, and if we're lucky, we find portals to this secret bunny gambling area. It's just stupid, genuinely stupid. Plus, it's from one of the stupidest eras of Konami, 1988, a year that I would just love to forget existed. 90% of the games from '88 were just eccentric attempts at getting your money. It wasn't for me. MechWarrior. I know some of you might have differing opinions on this one, but hear me out. This is the first proper MechWarrior game, at least in IP branding. The previous game was a Battletech RPG, the Crescent Hawk's Inception, so I was excited to check out where the true lineage of MechWarrior began because MechWarrior 2 was such a huge deal to me. But the problem is, this game is a convoluted mess. There's really three ways to play this game. One, it's a political strategy game. You can raise your reputation, get cool missions, and just ride the lightning to popularity, and that would be it. The second involves making profit through buying and selling battle mechs from various sectors of the inner sphere. Finally, the third is the story. Now, you can do any of these three, but the only way to win is to complete the story-based quest for the game. And even if you complete it, you won't get any credits, the game just goes on. Now, if you play it for one of these reasons, you'll enjoy it. If you're trying to do all three to beat the game, you will not enjoy it. The whole story involves context clues and text-related quest lines that can fail at any point. Why? Because it's RNG in some cases if the people you need to meet even show up on the planets you're supposed to go to. So make sure you save often, and it helps to write down the planets that you need to go to because this game randomly generates which ones the context characters are on. I tried my best to beat this, even with using a walkthrough, it was just horrible. Good news though, the franchise went a significantly better direction moving forward after this game. Yie Ar Kung-Fu was a very early game from Konami. It originated in the arcades in 1984 and was one of the founding fathers of the tournament fighter genre, the other being Karate Champ from Data East. And to me, Yie Ar Kung-Fu was jank as jank could be. At its core, it was just a button masher, but people ate it up. So what do? Well, we make a second game that involves a character named Li Young, whose father destroyed the entire Chop Suey gang, cleansed China of their presence, allegedly, because one member survived, and now he thinks he's the emperor. You would think this would be a fighting game. Well, it is, kind of. Most of the time it's a beat 'em up, and by beat 'em up I mean midgets running at you biting your heels while you try to walk across the screen. It's an incredibly lazy game and one of my least favorite games on the MSX. It was on other home computers as well, like the Electron, the CPC, the MO5, the TO7-70, and even on the ZX Spectrum, but no matter how you spin it, this game blows and I wanted nothing to do with it. Circus Charlie is yet again another early Konami game, and it's a novelty one at that. We do a bunch of circus stunts, and I found it to be charming and witty, something that Konami was kind of known for in the early 80s. To me, their game stood out as being a distraction from reality with all of these silly themes that caught people's attention. But when they ported Circus Charlie to the Famicom, everything was downgraded, which is to be expected. But the programmers in charge of porting this game, they didn't know what they were doing. The physics of Circus Charlie were very specific. Many of the levels required inertia, specific motion, and that did not translate to the home console at all, which is probably why this game never saw an American release. In fact, most of the people who I talked to who played this had it on a pirate console they got from eBay or flea market. It wasn't really popular. The horse riding level alone was a massive nightmare. I hate this game with a burning passion. Ever heard of Gryzor? Probably not, because most of you will know this game as Contra. Gryzor was the name of the arcade version of Contra, only in Europe, and that was the naming convention at the time they used when they ported the game to the home computer. Once it was ported to the NES and Famicom, the names changed again, with the US and Japanese versions being Contra, and with the European versions being named Probotector, but that's a conversation for another day. Now you might be saying, this doesn't look bad at all. Stop being a big old baby back baboon, Fort. Listen, this game is wonderful. It's the controls that will stick a sock up your asshole. The way they program this game's controls involve both the keyboard and the joystick at the same time. The joystick is self-explanatory, move in whatever direction you want to move or aim, and if you want to shoot, just hit the fire button on the joystick. Now what do you do if you want to jump? You have to hit the space bar. That's a great combination. Chalk it up to the Commodore 64 joystick only having one button, so you kind of had to choose. Do you want to jump? Do you want to shoot? Or you could be like me and just want to die. Because death is more practical than lifting my hand off of the joystick to push a button to jump. It's tragic, really. King Kong, a horny ape that decided to take a hot lady for a spin and ended up getting shot by airplanes off the top of the Empire State Building. I've actually never seen it. 1930s films, they just don't do it for me. But that one movie launched King Kong into a media franchise that still thrives to this day, and there's been different takes on it, many of which resulted in video games. But the one show I would like to discuss is Kong the Animated Series. You see, in this show, King Kong falls to his death, but a scientist decides to walk up to the corpse, say, "Oh, how sad," before stealing some DNA, which she uses to create a clone. That clone gets sent back to Kong Island where he can live and thrive. The bread and butter of this show is that the main character Jason has this weird cyber link that lets him merge bodies with Kong. Now that you know the backstory, I can tell you what sucks about this game. Everything. Everything fucking sucks with this game. It's 100% a platformer to the core, but it's one of those platformers where it's zoomed in 500%. Your jumps send you skyrocketing to the top of the map, and of course you need to find X amount of Y to get to the next stage. If memory serves me well, it was scrolls or something, but through and through, this is a bargain bin game at best, and if you play it, you'll find it laughably unplayable. This is a show that my dad loved. Tim Allen and Richard Karn playing Tim the Toolman Taylor and Al Borland respectively on their own little TV show dedicated to a home improvement show. That's it. Now you might be wondering who in their right mind would decide that Home Improvement was ripe for the picking to be converted into a shitty platformer. I'm glad you asked. Imagineering, with the kiss on the forehead with tongue of course, blessing from Absolute Entertainment. This game involves an episode of Home Improvement where someone stole all of Tim's Binford power tools and scattered them across different stages in the recording studio. Seems tame, right? No, it's another case of run around trying to figure out what to do, what to get, and because it's zoomed in, you're constantly changing height and level, going to dead ends, getting hit by mandatory damage, running out of ammo, and dealing with controls which I couldn't figure out. I guess I could always look up the manual, right? Oh, well, isn't this cool? The game says fuck you and tells you real men don't need manuals. Gee, thanks, Imagineering. Real men don't need to play your shitty game either. Oh wow, a vertical shooter. This is one of my favorite genres, everybody knows that, so I'm a stickler on how companies present them. In this case, Dragon Spirit was made by Namco. In the game, we play as Amor, a dragon, who has to travel through the 9 areas to find the Princess Alicia, who was kidnapped by the demon Zoel. It reminded me a lot of Xevious, but here's the thing. While being a dragon is awesome, it's one of the big reasons why I dislike this game. We are massive. This game originated in the arcade, so you already know it's going to be a coin sink. But this is on the PC Engine. This is a console that lived, breathed, and shit out vertical shooters like nobody's business. There's at least 100 plus vertical shooters alone on that console. It was saturated. Now, in the early stages, what I mentioned about Amur's size won't matter. We'll still be going up against incredible odds, but about halfway through the game, the developers decided to add environmental control, for example hallways that act as choke points, where it's absolutely impossible to dodge projectiles even with Amur being fully powered up. There's an ice level that I abhorred, and the final area prior to Zawel is just the biggest load of dog shit I've ever experienced in a vertical shooter. You ever watched Cliffhanger? It's a movie starring Sylvester Stallone, one of his many forays into being the action hero of choice in the 90s. Basically, he's a mountain rescue ranger who has one really bad day. Then some goon crashes a plane with tons of money into the Rockies, and he needs help getting it back. How do we do that? With icy stunts, betrayal, explosions, and Stallone climbing things angrily. It's basically Die Hard, but colder and with more sweaters. True story. And because action movies are capable of being turned into subpar games, that's exactly what happened. Cliffhanger was made for the Amiga, Genesis, Super Nintendo, NES, Game Boy, Game Gear, and the Sega CD. Now, the only version I've attempted to beat was the Sega CD version, which for all intents and purposes is a pretty generic game, which is par for the course, considering it was made by Malibu Interactive. The same lip-dick megachodes who brought us Heavy Nova. But the one part of the game that took my brain out, stomped on it, and put it back in the cavernous abyss that is my head was the snowboarding sections. That part is beyond frustrating, and it's the main reason why I stopped playing it altogether. Also, mad shout out to Spidersoft for royally screwing over the IP on the NES as well. That game is a mistake! Isometric games piss me off to no end. To me, it is one of the stupidest camera perspectives on this planet, and the fact that it exists irradiates my bones with pure hatred and cosmic anger. To me, this is the final boss of isometric games. Syndicate was birthed by Bullfrog Productions, aka Peter Molyneux, and it's billed as a real-time strategy game, but I prefer to call it a real-time pain in my ass. We're supposed to control these badass cybernetically enhanced goons who go out and take control of a country. It's kind of like the CIA and Splinter agents, and should we conquer a territory, we can generate tax revenue that allows us to further enhance our team. Sure, fine, whatever. But the footage you're seeing right now is the PC version. The version that's on this list today is the 3DO version. Imagine playing a PC game with hotkeys and removing all of those. Imagine moving a mouse cursor with a D-pad and being relegated to 3 buttons, or 6 if you bought the aftermarket controllers. It's a recipe for a bad time. I don't have time to figure out exactly what abstract button combination does the one asinine task I need to do. I have to contend with people hit scanning me from across the fucking stage, and it didn't take long at all for me to retire this game, and honestly I hope to never see it again. And that's it for today's episode. What did you think of this list? Are there any games out there that you simply refuse to play? Feel free to tell the community down in the comments section below. Who knows, maybe you'll share a common idea with someone else. Speaking of our community, if you made it to the end of this episode, you're already home in our community. We're a gathering of retro gaming enthusiasts that love to remember when life was just a little bit easier to live, and if you align with that, feel free to subscribe. Finally, the single most important thing you can do for me is to hit that thumbs up button, as it directly impacts the visibility of the videos and the projects that I work on every single day. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes, Fortefyre out.